In this video I'm going to make a case about why I think Draw Muhammad Day is not a good idea by analyzing images from the last Draw Muhammad Day and looking at the ratio of images that I think are decent and supporting free speech compared to those that are just plain offensive. And then at the end I'll have some conclusions about Draw Muhammad Day for me personally after analyzing those images. A brief kind of disclaimer, so I will be showing images of Muhammad, some of them being very offensive. I didn't draw them, I downloaded them from the web. But if you're a Muslim and you think that you're going to be offended by portrayals of Muhammad, then please don't watch the video. Also, if you're wondering why I am portraying, I guess, second-hand pictures of Muhammad, including very offensive ones, well, basically, I am not doing it to hurt anyone. I'm doing it in a critical manner. I'm critiquing these images. So I never had any problem with the idea that it should be legal to portray Muhammad. Just a problem with the reasons for why people are doing it and the kinds of pictures they're producing in terms of hurting other people. So since I'm not doing this to hurt anyone, merely to actually talk about those images critically, I don't see any problem with what I'm doing in this video. So without further ado, let's proceed to the next part of the video. So, in this part of the video I'm just going to briefly say some things about the images that I downloaded. And so these are a representative sample of the images on 3 Draw Muhammad Day sites, 2 Facebook sites, and 1 blog. And so I've categorized them into 3 broad categories, and I'll go through them one by one. The first category is the largest, the sexual deviant category. So that comprises pictures of Muhammad engaging in bestiality and pedophilia. Now, the bestiality is obviously completely uncalled for, and you know, if there's someone you like and respect and someone draws them having intercourse with an animal, then obviously that's offensive. So no free speech element with those. It's just about offending Muslims. The same goes for the pedophilia images. Now, of course, Muhammad did marry a 7-year-old girl, at least that's what scholars think the age was, and he did consummate the marriage when she was probably 9 or 10. By today's standards, that is clearly pedophilia and disgusting. But in the Bedouin society of the day, that was perfectly normal. You were not considered a pedophile. It was not considered immoral. Whilst I do believe that there are such things as absolute moral principles, people at the time might not understand enough of the world and how people work to understand those moral principles. The Bedouins of that time did not understand enough to understand that it is wrong to have an adult engaging in sex with a 9-year-old girl. They did not understand this. It was normal. Therefore, judging Muhammad for this is not fair. You know, it's the ancient Greeks on which our Western philosophy is largely based, and who we look to as early Enlightenment people and the kind of first proponents of a recognizable form of democracy. Yeah, they had such a thing as love boys, where older men would get young boys somewhere from the age of 11 to 15, I think, and they would have sex with them when they felt like it. And they were then meant to teach them things and, you know, bring them into adulthood. And it was a very common thing that lots of philosophers and Greek people did. And because the children were obviously of lower status, they would be the ones to be penetrated, of course. So, Greek philosophy is one of those really cherished fields that us rationalists really, look up to as really being very influential in the way we think today about a lot of things, including morality and ethics. So, considering that by our modern standards, the Greeks engaged in pedophilia or pedastry, I think it's pronounced. We could draw silly, ugly pictures of Greek philosophers, but what's the point? No, their behavior then, as part of the moral guidelines before they knew any better, does not signify an enormous moral deficit. You can say, well, if Muhammad was really talking to God, God should have told him different, and that's an argument I can support. I definitely think it shows that Muhammad wasn't really getting necessarily divine guidance. But that's a different argument that you can have respectfully. Calling him a pedophile when it was not socially defined that way then, I think it's just being insincere or just not understanding the concept of different understandings of morality throughout the time. You can't condemn someone for a crime 2,000 years ago in exactly the same way as you could today when we understand more. So this entire category, which was the largest category, I would say is just there to be offensive. Nothing to do with free speech. It's just people saying, look, Muhammad was a sexual pervert and you who follow him, by association are disgusting. An additional beautiful side note here is the picture that Thunderfoot used in his original Draw Muhammad Day video was Pedo Bear wearing the Muhammad bomb thing that the artist drew. So Thunderfoot's own video was, calling Muhammad a pedo, which really to me shows his insincerity in stating this is a free speech issue. It was at least as much to him always about offending Muslims. So this is a category I find is entirely unproductive. The next category is the category of FU pictures. These are basically just things like, like up yours Muhammad, or associating Muhammad with excrement or burning the Quran, or other childish or silly censorship kind of things. And it's nothing more than just saying F you Muslims. Again, free speech element, you have free speech to offend people, but you can use your free speech without telling them to F you. And if that was the intent of the entire Muhammad Day, then I would have expected people to use their free speech without just saying F you. So this is another big category of images that were produced. Now, the third category is violent pictures associating all Muslims with terrorism and with violence. Considering all of the moderate Muslims, many which live lives exactly like us in the West, where the women don't wear any form of covering, yet these pictures are not differentiating at all. There is no extremist Muslim tags. It's Muhammad as a terrorist, sometimes with Muslims as terrorists. So basically, if you're of the Muslim faith, then you're of a faith that is a faith that is primarily responsible for terrorism and generating terrorists. Of course, the Muslim faith has a checkered history, as do all belief systems, but it has produced many scholars, and you can always pick on certain members of certain groups and say, well, these people were evil, look at them. And there's really, as I said, there's so many moderates that it's completely unnecessary to smear them all, guilt by association, with terrorists. Why would you do this? Because you want to piss Muslims off. All Muslims, not just the bad ones. And again, you could do the entire thing without resorting to this. So these images to me are not about protecting freedom of speech. Then there's another category of the evil images, so associating Islam with Satan. I'm guessing these are Christians, and they're just trying to have a dig at another religion. Nothing to do with freedom of speech, to do with a little bit of intra-religional conflict on which the atheists, according to the Christians, I guess, finally came out on the right side. Then there's another category, so there were about 28 pictures in that category. Then there's another category of 8 pictures that I would find either neutral or positive, and they include such things as clever sayings that I think apply, simple drawings of Muhammad that are in no way offensive, a republication of one of the cartoons that got censored, where I think the cartoon in itself is offensive, but I can support its republication in terms of just fighting censorship, not in terms of endorsing the message. Actually, if I had participated, which I still don't feel like it, but if I had and I'd used that cartoon, I probably would have written underneath it, not my opinion, but I can see why you would use that cartoon. Or actually, my favorite one of all was the South Park screen capture, where Muhammad is part of the super best friends, because the portrayal of Muhammad in these South Park episodes was entirely positive. And the South Park was also part of that entire censorship thing. So this, to me, has the strongest symbolism, and it is entirely unoffensive. Well, some people might get offended at seeing Muhammad, but considering how positive the message is, and that it actually, the first 2 episodes featuring Muhammad had been, no protest, and Muslims could then go and watch these episodes and see that Muhammad was not being portrayed in a bad light. I think that is the perfect image if you wanted to participate in Draw Muhammad Day. And I think instead of drawing your own Muhammad, why didn't everyone just paste this one picture everywhere? No need to add messages or anything. Just paste it all over Facebook, paste it all over any forum you can find where you're not going to get banned for trolling, and just reproduce that image everywhere. And I'm sure that could have been done with free use, with Viacom or Comedy Network or whatever it is, not being able to put up much of a fight. And that would have been fine. The only problem here is 80% or so of the images were offensive. I don't think most participants in Draw Muhammad Day would have been very interested in just putting up a non-offensive picture. The idea behind Draw Muhammad Day, by a lot of people, most people that participated, I think, was to be offensive. Now, during the first Draw Muhammad Day, people that participated with good intentions, I predicted it would turn out this way, but, I didn't know. So people could enter that with good faith and hoping that it would be an exercise of free speech that would not be attacking moderate Muslims. And then, I think afterwards you'd go and you'd say, well, it didn't work out. But, I don't blame those people. But if you participate again, knowing that it's probably going to turn into exactly the same thing, hate Muslims fest for all to join in, to hate a minority in our countries. That's what they are in our countries, a minority, and we're hating them. Then I think you share, a lot of the responsibility of the nasty images, even if you're not one of the people drawing the nasty, even if you draw a nice cartoon. If you're going to submit it to such a group that has lots of these nasty, offensive images in it, I think you're associating yourself and sharing in the responsibility of the xenophobes and, yes, I will say it, racists that produce those very offensive images. And again, I want to point out, just imagine that you are a minority in your own country. and people around you for some reason don't like your beliefs, and they start these kind of events where they all contribute to making fun of your beliefs. You're going to feel threatened by that. You're going to feel upset by that, and I think you would have every right to feel upset and threatened by that. Muslims are a minority in our countries, and there are a lot of moderate Muslims who are perfectly integrated into our societies. We're hurting them with this as well. And I don't really think we're making any big leaps forward in free speech, especially not when a lot of the message that we're putting out is what free speech does is give bigots and xenophobes a voice. I mean, I'm always for free speech, even though it gives bigots and xenophobes a voice. But if we're having an event specifically for promoting free speech, and we know it's going to turn into a voice for xenophobes and bigots, then I think we need to rethink the principle here. So I don't encourage people to draw Muhammad on Muhammad Day. I would love for people to do something else, something more constructive, something that both supports freedom of speech and respects our fellow human beings, whether they be Muslim or atheist or Christian or anything else out there. So if you have any comments, so if you agree or if you disagree, and you have a good explanation for how Draw Muhammad Day is actually a very good idea, and you have arguments that I haven't really brought up, please let me know. And yeah, I mean, if you have ideas of how to do a better freedom of speech event, then go out and organize it, and that would be really excellent, and I'd love to join that. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to hear from you. So especially people that don't like what I'm saying, which I'm guessing, especially by how other such videos have gone, that it's going to be a majority. Please let me know in the comments or response video why. Yeah, I'd really like to discuss it with you. And as I said, I'm not against anyone's freedom of speech. I'm totally opposed to ban Draw Muhammad Day. That is not what I intend at all. But I would like to, see Draw Muhammad Day replaced by something that I would think is more productive, simply because reasonable people would be drawn to that rather than being drawn to Draw Muhammad Day, which I think is probably counterproductive rather than just not productive. Anyways, this is our Church of STFU. Please rate or comment, and I'd love to hear from you. I'll see you guys later.